Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. So, I'm sorry I always I start the podcast with but what I was getting to, as I always do when I stumble, I got to interact with another one of my listeners today, on Twitter, actually. He's trying to grow his fan base on YouTube, where he's trying to start a gun channel. I didn't catch him right away. I'll definitely try to shout out his podcast or his YouTube channel. But it made me think about where I want to take New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. So what I would like to see happen is for this to become popular enough to be a cultural phenomenon. You know, if you check out Brandon Herrera's videos, he's the AK guy, or Ian from Forgotten Weapons, better known as Gun Jesus, Tim from Military Arms Channel, Iraq Veteran, Eric from Iraq Veteran 8888. You know, these are people that have gotten popular even with younger generations. My kids know these guys. I'd like to, and Robski at AKOU. I can't forget shouting out the man that helped me come up with the name for my podcast. But what I would like to do is eventually transition this to be a full-time job. But in addition to that, I would like to see branches of the Black Rifle Operators Union open up in other states and other cities. And the reason why is because I ask my audience, which is mostly my friends right now, but it's growing, to go out and protest from time to time. Especially as I say in this podcast often, we don't like that politics crosses the stream with guns, but it's been that way since I've been around the 2A. We've always been on the defensive. And if anything from this election that I've learned is that they're going to be more hamstrung now than they have been in a while, which makes them more dangerous as far as I'm concerned. And this is where state politicians who are trying to stump so that they can get ready for national elections, to run as presidents or VPs or cabinet people, that they start doing stupid stuff in states. And what I would like to have is the Black Rifle Operators Union expand to like the Florida Black Rifle Operators Union. And if you look at the tag on mine and the artwork for this podcast, you'll see that it has my area code here. Now the idea was in my Rumble, and it has the 505 in it for New Mexico for our area code as well as our zip code. So the idea was to try to get a base to where if we need to go protest and say, hey, this gun law is stupid, why are you trying to do this in New Mexico, in the Southwest where we are, you know, as much as people like to say we're civilized, we are very civilized, we are very cultural. But we live in rural areas. Even metro areas like Albuquerque is got a long response time, not because of lack of effort, it's because of geography. You cannot get from point A to point B fast enough. It's just not possible in the Southwest. Top it off, we still have a lot of wild animals and stuff in the Southwest. And a lot of us are ranchers and farmers, so it makes sense that we would be kind of pioneerish, especially with the 2A. But if we get enough of a platform as an audience and as we grow, wouldn't it be cool if idiots like in Portland when they're trying to ban all the gun stuff, or that's specific there, or Seattle, that we could help organize bigger protests in the 2A. All those personalities I talk about, or I mentioned before, with an exception of Eric, Rob Ski from time to time, and Mike, and Eric for sure, and Tim once in a while, they try to stay away from politics. They do entertainment stuff. They show us the cool stuff that we may not get our hands on. Brandon actually speaks at places like CPAC, and he's a very strong libertarian. I think that's awesome. But I would like to build the political aspect of that to where we're watching out for this as watchdogs to go fight tyranny. Because I've mentioned the video before. I really hope you all that are listening get to this and check out Palmetto State Armory's channel. There is their founder of Palmetto State Armory. He's a retired veteran who was injured, who wanted to make guns. But the reason why he wants to keep his product at a price point people can afford is because he's seen what happens when society breaks down. And he said the best thing he could figure out what in that video basically was an armed populace stabilizes society. And that the best way to keep America is to keep it tactical. So he's said in no short order to spread freedom is his mission. That's why you see all these cool products. Yes, Palmetto State Armory, all of them are in this to make profit. But at the same time, if they're willing to be a corporation that has a value, a mission statement, and that's what drives them to build their product and innovate, I'm willing to support them in that. And yeah, they may have some QC issues from time to time, but they've fixed them. And what do you expect when they're turning out thousands of these things at the price points they are? But we really need that grounding force. The NRA isn't there anymore. Gun Owners of America is great, but they're small. And Firearms Policy Coalition is growing, just like Gun Owners of America, but they need our voices. And most importantly, they need our support. If we can financially support them, that's great. I put my money where my mouth is. I've started doing what another one of the guys who's impressed the hell out of me throughout the COVID stuff and just a little bit before was Eric July. I mention him all the time too. And he said, put 80% of what you have towards people that don't hate you. Support places, businesses, causes, products that you know the people don't hate you. If they come out swinging. Unfortunately, a lot of cell phone carriers are this guy that comes out against the 2A because it's popular in leftist circles. And if anything we've learned, the red wave that we were expecting during the election to kind of shield us for a little bit didn't happen all the way. We did win overall, but it's not going to be a huge title shift that we're hoping for, or that I was hoping for, I'll be honest there. With that, we need to start guarding our rights for the future. And that's what sparked me to build the New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. Was I had spoken in Santa Fe against an assault weapons ban, against the red flag laws, against every little thing I could. I know of a cadre of people from where I live that would go down there. Okay? I don't want to name them by names. I will name the sheriff because the sheriff up here, Shane Ferrari, is awesome. I don't care what anybody says. The only thing I've ever had against the man is the stuff with the COVID, and I understand that he had bigger fish to fry at the time, meaning that crime's going nuts. He's focused on local crime. What the staties do, he can't really override for some stupid New Mexico law. I get that, but I still was hoping for some sort of block to say, hey man, you can't do this in my county. I understand that also she controls the purse strings for everything up here, and that most of the hate and gripe people have extent that wouldn't be extinguished very quickly, because there's a lot of collaboration with people in the area, and there's a lot to be said about concealed carry in New Mexico. It's a thing, and whether we like Democrats or not, they're going to be running this state until something changes. And what we have to do is get out and make sure that we get the Reagan Democrats, the ones that will side with us, the ones that are the ranchers and the farmers that understand it. Make them not see that black rifles aren't bad. The people that use them aren't bad. It's just how technology's evolved. It's no different now with an AR-15 than it is to what a cell phone is now. Technology has evolved. There is stuff that we haven't even seen yet, I'm sure, that we're still trying to figure out to do the same type of things that the 2A does right now. But for now, this is what we have access to. That means that we should have, whether it's a computer to protect the First Amendment, to use social media and whatever else to speak your mind, or an AR-15 to keep and defend yourself and to hold sacred the Second Amendment, we need to keep the United States tactical. And the only way we do that is by getting out, talking to people, and advocating and showing them we're not idiots. Because what happens every time there's a shooting? They find the most redneck, uneducated, ill-spoken person possible, and they put them in front of a camera. And they freak the hell out. Why? Because it gets the story, that makes the rounds on social media, it makes the rounds on all the airplay for the legacy media outlets, because if it bleeds, it leads. So how do we counter that? We make sure that everyone knows someone that isn't a complete idiot in the 2A. And I've said it before, and I will say this forever. Everyone in the 2A community knows this. There is one group of people. There's like 2%, maybe 2%. It may be less than that, and it probably is, of people that shouldn't own a firearm. They are absolutely incapable of doing it, not because of physicality or anything like that. They are mentally idiots. And that case in point, dead people won elections this last time. If nobody would take something as serious as voting, which I'm starting to understand that point, but for now, this is how we have to interact. This is how we have to fight. Because if it gets to that next phase, it's not going to be good for anybody. And the best way to fight that is just being American, just being a normal person. Make them think about you when they're in the ballot voting against this stuff. Oh yeah, I know that guy. He goes shooting on the weekends and he does competitions with that thing. He's got a picture of that. Looks pretty cool. Looked pretty rad. He kind of looked like one of those movie dudes. Or she did. Holy crap. Did you know that person went out there and dropped that 6x6 bull elk? And she's like 22 years old and weighs 100 pounds? Holy crap. And she did it at 300 yards? With one shot? Wow. You know, when people think about that, it destigmatizes and normalizes it. And unlike the groomer crap that's going on in the other parts of the culture war, this is actually a good thing. Because this can either save someone's life, destigmatize this right and this ability, because if they have their way, they're going to take it away. And Joe Biden has said that. And politicians around the world say that. An unarmed populace is subject to whatever the government wants. And whether you're on the right or the left, having anyone be the boss of you to the point that they can starve you and lock you away for no reason, just for not agreeing with them, is not American, is not how I want to see my country. So this is my fight. Like, share, subscribe, be great.